rolling.
Stop pounding the table. That's why we have to have these 6 mics.
That's why we don't have these as real mics anymore.
No, and fake mics. Fake mics and fake, so it's all good. So, why you glare at me? Just glares.
Well, that's a standard procedure, isn't it, though?
Why? Why am I the subject of such vitriol?
Because you're in the center.
Because this is,
You're,
the captain
and you're
of the
obviously
nation.
Superman, so you can take
Yes.
this sort of
I'm
thing.
very excited about the movie coming up.
Time now is Reagan Bush.
Well, I'm bipartisan. Got
Okay.
Reagan, Bush, and then we got Bill.
Okay.
So
okay.
I got both. And then I got Ronnie. Ronnie here.
I had my
Bill
dog.
here.
I had my dog, my Toby, who's gone now, but I had Toby trained that if we were out on the back porch and I looked at him and he looked at me and I said, "Nixon!" He'd go and attack the water down there like he was looking for something.
I didn't know Toby passed. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
Randy.
been a couple of years ago now, yeah.
Oh,
Where
wait.
have you
Then
been?
what's the other dog you have?
Finn.
Okay.
Finn is the
Toby
other
and
one, yeah.
Finn. They were.
Yeah. Finn just lays around and sleeps all the time now. He's 15.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No, I'm very excited about the Superman movie. I'm very excited about Fantastic Four.
Oh,
it looks
yeah.
like they're actually going to do Fantastic Four right this time.
It could be a good movie, yeah.
Okay, is Fantastic Four DC?
Oh,
No,
Marvel.
That's Marvel.
Marvel.
Yes,
All right.
Superman is DC.
Well, so I think I've always told you, like, I don't care for DC as much, but I saw the Superman preview last night.
It looks great.
It looks
looks
awesome.
really good. Now, that being said, I thought Man of Steel was okay. I thought Man of Steel was good, and I thought I liked the whole Henry Cavill thing. I thought he was
good.
fantastic.
He was good, yeah.
But this, bringing James Gunn over, who basically built and kind of elevated the Marvel universe, to have him come over and do DC now, it's just going to be fantastic. And I'm
Why?
very
Because
excited.
Marvel's better than DC?
Yeah. Yeah, traditionally,
I'm not.
comic books, Marvel was always the standout, yeah.
I mean, I can't really debate this. I'm no expert, but I mean, I know from just barely nothing that Marvel is better
has
than DC.
the depth, because DC's got Batman and Superman.
Marvel has
yeah.
the
You gotta give 'em that.
actors.
And then, but Marvel's so DC, I think DC basically has 1 and 2, and then Marvel has like 3 through probably 10, and maybe throw Wonder Woman in there, I don't know. But, Spider-Man, Captain America, Thor, Iron Man. You gotta remember though.
Bushman.
Four Bushman, Fin Fang Foom. You gotta remember that though, when Downey took over and did the Iron Man movie, Iron Man was really kind of a B player.
Yeah, it was
in the
lower
Marvel
tier.
universe.
Yeah.
He wasn't up there on the upper scale.
That was a bold move for them to go and put Iron Man as the main character to get this whole thing started off, and Downey pulled it off, absolutely.
It was perfect casting. And,
Robert Downey Jr. is God.
He's fantastic. I mean, that dude has been through more stuff than
And
all of us combined.
And he was in, Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield.
He was in Back to
Yeah.
School with Rodney Dangerfield. He was Sherlock Holmes. I mean, the dude's body of work is just fantastic. And again, he's one of my favorite guys. And now they're going to bring him back and the whole Doctor Doom thing, and we'll see how that works out. So, but no. So, and this summer anyway, great movies coming up. There's some great movies already out.
I just watched Lilo and Stitch.
You did Lilo and Stitch. How was that?
Okay, so I really feel like, my daughter is 13. She's like on the brim of not liking these movies anymore.
But she's also on the brim of not liking you. Let's be honest.
Like, why do you have to
These
remind
darn kids
me?
these
I know.
days. Yeah.
Why do you have to remind me of this? But we went and saw that in the B&B theaters in Hannibal. I didn't know that there was a bar that you can recline in seats. I was living in a shelter, I think.
We went to one of those down in Texas. It was over in Dayton, Ohio. Me and some buddies went over there to the Air Force Museum to hang out for the weekend. And we went and saw a movie that night. And I don't know what movie it was, but yeah, there was a bar, there was recliners.
Oh,
I'm
the
like,
recliners.
oh, this is it, baby.
It really is.
And I saw Mission Impossible over the holiday weekend. I thought that was great. So yeah, there's some, and then again, like I said, you got Fantastic Four and Superman coming up, and I'm sure there's a lot of others. But again, me being a comic book geek, I'm very excited
Nerd.
about what's coming
Yeah.
up.
I am watching a show. It's currently on Apple called The Studio. I always mix it up. It's called The Script. It's The Studio, and it's by Seth Rogen. He stars in it. He writes in it, and he has a lot of other collaborators, obviously. One of the episodes that I just watched recently, it's always hilarious. They're always great. This one was in regards to casting, and they were very worried about like the demographics of the race behind this movie that they're pitching, and they didn't want to be racist. So that was kind of comical in and of itself. But at the very, I don't want to like spoil it, but like the very end part would have been like a where the subject came up of AI, and he's announcing to the Comic-Con crew that, you know, Ice Cube's gonna play Kool-Aid Man, and the first question,
Oh yeah.
the first question that comes from people's mouths, he was waiting for, you know, that race question. They were ready for it. Instead, they say, "We heard that you're gonna be using AI in this movie," and like everyone starts chanting, "You're taking away from human artists. You're taking away from humans," you know, and that was basically the end of the show. But the thought of that, the whole AI being in movies, being critical. Don't you think they're using AI in these Marvel movies?
in some of the last Star Wars, I mean, Peter Cushing's character, he's been dead for years.
Yeah.
And he was in that movie.
So is there like a bad connotation with AI when you're...
If they've got the permission of the artist, and like Shatner's already said, once I'm gone, if my family wants to use my voice, more power to them. You know, my image, my voice, you know, I'm gone.
Randy's
what do
very
I care?
excited about that, by the way.
Well, there's, you know, that was my, when they first started coming out with the new, and a Star Trek fan, when they,
I can do it with this
it's
hand.
come on, do it right.
I can do
Did
it
I
with
do
this
it
hand.
right?
I can do it with both hands, and I can also do that.
Am
Anyway,
I doing it right?
that's, well, I put the thumb out. There you go. And it's live long and prosper. Anyway, so when the second of the new movies with Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto came out, they had said they were going to do Khan. I said, no, what they should be doing. And I posted this on a Star Trek Facebook page somewhere. You know, I said, here's what they should do. Redo City on the Edge of Forever, which is the most famous of the original series episodes. Basically, McCoy gets thrown back in time, and Kirk and Spock have to go back and find him because he has changed something, and now the entire future is different, and the Enterprise and the Federation and nothing's there anymore, and they've got to go back and help fix it somehow. So what I said is, in this one, they should go back, and as they're getting ready to go back, the Guardian of Forever that sends them back says, you can't do this alone, you need help. And they go back and they're walking down the street and they come up to this little house with a white picket fence, go up and knock on the door, and Joan Collins, who was the love interest in the original series, they're both, her and Shatner are both still alive. She walks up to the door and goes, oh, Jim, it's for you.
That's awesome.
And Shatner comes up. That's what they should have done. I put that on that Facebook page. The next day that had been taken down.
Because they might take it?
No, because it hit too close to home,
Too
I
good.
think.
It was too good.
I think it hit too close to home
Or
with what they were going to do.
they'll
And then they
redo
changed and they went ahead and did a Wrath of Khan, a remake of that.
You're going to see your idea in a future
I
remake.
liked the Pine movies. I thought they were good. Again, I think that I'm waiting for what the next iteration is going to be. I'm a big Carl Urban fan, so I love him as McCoy.
Marcy is too.
And in The Boys, he's incredible in The
Oh,
Boys.
yeah.
So I really liked all that stuff. Yeah. Oh no, my wife is a Chris Pine guy. My wife's like Chris Pine and John Bon Jovi. Those are the two that if they walk in, I'm out. So, but yeah, no, I love all those movies and I love what they're doing. And we got Strange New Worlds getting ready to gear up.
Yeah,
again.
New Worlds is coming up, and one other thing. What the heck else is coming up here pretty soon too? Whatever. But yeah, Strange New Worlds is starting up pretty quick here. So yeah.
And then from
You guys didn't really answer my question
What?
of, is AI right or wrong?
It's right if all the proper permissions are given.
That's
I'm fine with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting.
I mean, like some of the stuff I do a lot of voice work for real estate shows all around the country. And a year and a half, 2 years ago, I was doing anywhere up to 2,000 voice tracks a month. They got a hold of me and said, hey, this group of places, these cities, they're going to do it without voices now. No, they're not. They're using AI. They're using an artificial voice. I can't prove that, but that, you know, and it's none of my business. That's what they want to do. I'm doing a couple hundred a month now, but you know, and I've used it a couple times to clone voices. There's a gentleman locally here. We did a Muddy River Gem with him. The guy that has the 1930s Ag Museum. He's in his mid-90s. His voice is kind of gravelly now, and he did an intro to his museum 15, 20 years ago. and a little video that kids watch when they come in, and he wanted to change a few things. And then I said, well, your voice sounds different. Well, I got to look around, and I took that voice from his original one, plugged it into the clone software, typed in the words I wanted him to say, and it came out perfect. I mean, the only difference was the cadence of how it was said. But other than that, it was perfect.
So when I'm gone, it's going to be your job to keep AI J. Robert Goff continuing through
Alive
Muddy
and
River.
well. I think maybe you can manage that.
Do a Disney animatronic.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Bob Goff.
I think, like you said, as long as you're not taking away, I think, from human jobs completely.
Yes, I agree.
But also to the degree, we've got to learn to accept that this is going to officially, eventually we're all getting replaced by AI. I know, like, that's doomsday.
Yeah, but I'm old
think about
enough
that.
where that's going to happen down the road.
You
and
think it's
fine.
probably going to be like 5 to 10 years from now. But I do think, like you said, use it for the good. And the biggest key factor that what you said, with the proper permissions.
Yeah.
So I think this kind of segues, yeah, I did that, to our next guest, who is talking about the Denman debacle. And we'll be talking about proper permissions and how we should deal with the situation. I do agree. Proper permissions need to be in place in both subjects.
The Liquor Booth is your home for a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits. The Liquor Booth has 2 locations in Quincy, 3520 Broadway and 1500 North 12th Street. The Liquor Booth, where it's always happy hour.
What have you been missing on Muddy River Gems? You won't believe your eyes. My crew and I have been bringing you stories for more than 20 years on PBS and now Muddy River News. And we're just getting started.
I am currently a thorn setting between 2 roses.
That's nice.
And I'm glad to do so with Mrs. Crissie Duran. Welcome.
Thank you.
And
Thanks for being here,
Hi,
Crissie.
thanks for
doing
having
this.
me.
I'm excited about this.
I am excited
You're
too.
a fire.
Crissie,
fire.
Crissie and I have been collaborating over the last month or so in working on this story regarding Denman Elementary. And Crissie is a longtime strong advocate for Quincy Public Schools with PTO at Baldwin. We worked together back when I had my year duty as being the PIO there when we were trying to do a referendum to raise some money, and she got me into this to meet with these parents who had concerns about what was going on. Is that a fair statement?
That's a fair statement.
So why did you bring me into this?
So I do want to start with saying that you were the last option. I don't mean
What the hell?
No, not the last option. The last resort. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not
so much
good at
better.
this.
That's
I'm
so
not
much
good at
better.
this. Well, I just mean that, like, in all wholeheartedly, like, this was not something that I think these families or parents wanted to have happen.
I'm gonna help bail
Okay,
you out.
thank you.
But what she means
No,
is this is the
I
first
mean-
news story
Yes!
you went
Oh,
to.
my God.
Yes,
Not the
thank
last
you,
You
Brittany.
were, hey,
Yes.
you were the first call.
Yes,
You
there
were
we
the
go.
only call. I will say, you were the only call.
I want to say kudos to you for calling firsthand, like before anybody gets into it about anything. We always say, report what you see. And in
Yeah.
this instance, a lot of adults saw it without reporting it.
Yeah.
And then kudos to you, Bob, for waiting to get that story out
Yeah.
until the students were
Yeah,
out
that
of-
was.
That was strategic. I know some people are a little upset, but we didn't know about this until,
It's been in the works for about a month.
also the
Honestly.
internet.
But also, the children are the only concern.
Absolutely.
They're our only concern.
I did not want
and there
us
is
to
Right.
release this story while the kids were in the building.
There was zero chance that was going to happen.
I wanted it to be at a time where the teachers could be aware of it.
Yeah.
And again, we had a lot of support from multiple Denman parents and multiple Denman teachers. And since the story is broken, I think I've had about a half dozen other Denman parents
Yeah.
who have reached out to me and said, yeah, this is a problem. This happened to my kid. I'm very upset about it. What do I do? And I know you have worked with these moms to now kind of take the baton of what's going to happen next, which I think will be a further look into this by, of course, QPS, hopefully, finally, and then to maybe even at the state level.
Yeah.
That's all possible, right?
I think anything at this point is possible. And as a parent, to be honest, I hope that all aspects are being looked at and all things are possible. I just don't see how we would want to leave anything not on the table. I mean, we really have to figure out, what's been going on and really not put up with what's happening.
The behavior.
The behavior.
And
Let's talk about the issue real quick
Yeah.
at hand, just in case some of you didn't read the article. What is happening right now, and what was brought to our attention, was there's a Denman PE teachers that were partaking in different practices, one of which were birthday spankings, light birthday spankings, as Klitz and Frankie just put it so gracefully, if you check them out. But again, like I said, it isn't a joking manner, but sometimes some people have to make light of these situations, I think. So they did a good job with that, but now we're trying to hit hard on what this really means. And not only was it the light birthday spankings, but it was the taping of the mouths. They were taping children's mouths with as a punishment for talking. So I believe that was the no talking thing. That was the discipline. The other thing was supposed to be a celebratory thing, which comes into play a lot of discussion. Some people are on there talking about discipline in and all together, like where do we stop, or back in my day and all that stuff too. And then comes the question on the light birthday spankings and what that really means. Like, we all know in this day and age, we don't touch other people's children.
Yeah.
And we certainly don't touch them in a manner where, spanking and even taping of the mouths is considered sexual sometimes.
I think that the tape, again, I think the taping is the real issue here, because if you look at the story that we wrote, you had the fact that this is considered dangerous by the state. And it's like, what if you have a kid who's got some sort of breathing issue or whatever?
Yeah.
It's like,
or panic issues.
Or panic or whatever, yes. And, Crissie, I think that, again, from your perspective as a mom who's been so active in the schools, you have been a real cheerleader for a lot of great stuff in the school district. And again, we always, trust me, this reporting on this story sucked. I'm sorry. I did not like doing it. I know. But it had to be done. And yes, we can report on all the good and happy stuff, and we like doing that, and we want to, raise up our kids for all the great stuff. But when our kids are in trouble, somebody's got to step up.
Yeah, 100%.
And there were kids who were visibly bothered by this.
Yeah, I think that's honestly what struck a chord with me. Being in the schools for, honestly, plus 10 years. I was a PTA president for 10 years. So I know what I'm talking.
Like 28. Happy
Thank you. I do know what I'm talking about. I have an older son who's about to be 20. So I went through QPS with him. I went through QPS now with my two others. And I will say, it is different. It's different. And I am the biggest QPS and teacher supporter, and I love teachers. It's harder today. I'm not taking that away. But when I hear of any kind of situation where any children, but one child, 5 children, but again, 1 child is not okay with things that are considered a tradition or a celebratory thing. It was made to my attention, and reading this report that you thankfully were given to publish, it's real when you read an actual statement. And when you hear that any child doesn't want to celebrate a birthday or bring treats or wear a birthday button or anything to celebrate them on their day, and it's because of somebody who has them the majority of the time as a parent, I have a real problem with that.
Well, I look at it as this, where these kids, again, that was the thing that got me the most. When I sat down with you and these moms and we had these conversations, and they would talk about how, hey, their child, we're gonna, hey, here's the cupcakes, here's the this, we're gonna get ready to celebrate your birthday at school, and they're like, can we not do that?
I wanna do it.
Can we just like act like my birthday's not gonna happen?
Yeah.
Well, why do you want to do that?
Yeah.
And then they talked about it, and then after we run this story, I see all these other instances of that.
Yeah.
And it's like, what kid doesn't want to celebrate their birthday?
Right.
I mean, everybody's like, I want the attention. I want you to sing to me. I want to eat my cake and my cupcakes. Woo! But for this thing, like, oh, okay. And again, whatever the ladies were thinking when they were doing this, it had such a negative. Some kids though thought it was all good and great good for them.
Great.
But there were a lot of kids who didn't. There were a lot of kids who were like, no, don't touch me.
Yeah.
And you have to appeal to those kids.
Yeah.
You can't just go in there willy-nilly and do this and just treat every kid the same.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why this was allowed to go on for so long.
That's the biggest problem. This went on for a very long time. Like, we're finding out that some kids, 8th grade, they're going into high school, they didn't want this to happen either. So at what point are we going to look at this and say, like, for a while, kids' voices weren't being heard? People were doing things. What it seems to me is for, like, self-love, like that's not okay. When I do things in the schools and I have children's eyes light up and it brings them so much joy and they want to wrap their arms around me, I'm still very mindful at, like, a side hug or, like, doing what I can. And I don't understand how anyone does not look in any child's eyes and realize that that wasn't what they wanted on their day, and somehow their warm and fuzzies, traditions, whatever, is more important than that child, because it's not. I'm sorry, it's not. It's not as a human, it's not as a parent, and it's certainly not as a person who is paid by tax dollars to be with our children and support them.
So I, for one, obviously absolutely hating dogging on teachers because our system is broken.
Totally.
Most people will say, in the past, teachers did have the upper hand. Now students do, because they have their iPhones in hand. They can snap anything at any time, and the board doesn't always have your back. Let's take the softball coach, for example. Now, that wasn't like a cell phone incident, but to compare the two right there, it seems like the system is broken. Along with so many adults that work in that school that saw this. I think I saw a couple people saying, I saw this. But I don't blame, shame on you for not reporting it, but at the same time, shame on us for...
Denman teachers did report it, and they were not listened to.
That is a fact.
That's awful. That is awful. I can see why some, though, wouldn't say something because the system is broken.
I agree. And I will touch on, like, I have been part of a union before, and there are great things about being part of a union. But one thing I will say is I was terrified to ever file a grievance when I saw things that were not right, because I knew in the roundabout way I would be fired. There would be a way.
Yeah.
There's always a way. And so I don't blame anybody. This is a really horrible situation. I do know people tried to have a voice. I don't know how that didn't come down all the way on a pipeline. A lot of things I am going to say, maybe we don't know. I know with union, you know, you don't know things are happening behind closed doors. But
you and I both know school board members were notified.
that is correct.
And
it was not answered.
they did not step up in this situation, which I think is really disappointing. And I just don't, again, I don't understand, again, when, you know, it had been going on for so long, they had a change in administration, the new Denman principal comes in, and it shouldn't have continued, but it did continue, and then then the DCFS investigation came in. What I can understand is the people who are out there now saying it didn't happen, when the DCF investigation has the teachers clearly admitting they did it.
Yeah, I will
It's like, read
say,
the report, people. We have it on there.
I don't know that they read the report.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah, I mean, the comments got really heated, which, you know, I'm glad that they did. I think people needed to know. Again, this was really a horrible no-win situation. But when you're faced with something, sometimes, you know, I mean, I'm just not a person, right is right and wrong is wrong. And, you know, I'll die on a hill with that. And kids, forget about it.
Can I say one thing in this? Common sense.
Yeah.
I mean, even with those teachers that did try to report it, I would have raised hell saying, maybe I don't understand their practice and whatnot, but we should look at what this is going to do for the school as a whole. If this is my job, if I was a teacher or employed by anyone at Denman, and it came to my knowledge that this was happening, even if I wasn't so much like, maybe I was of the mindset like back in my day, which that's not a good mindset. But say you had that mindset.
It is a fair one, though.
You still
because I watched Frankie's show, and I thought it was great, honestly. I mean, they kind of kidded around a little bit about it, but I think our generation, like, we can, because was
it happened
true.
to us.
Like, that did happen to me.
But
like,
it's not...
I got swatted for rolling my skirt up, like, things like that.
Rolling your skirt up?
Yeah.
Can you define what that means?
Well, they were, they went to the knee. And
if they didn't go to the knee and you did this.
And so...
Where did you go to school?
Well, it was a private Catholic school in California.
Going back to Cali. She's
yeah.
a Cali girl.
But here's the deal. After you had to get on your knees and, like, line up the skirt, we were rolling them up in the bathroom. And, sometimes that was noticeable. So I did get... And, hey, my mom and dad, I mean, there were things...
Were they notified about this?
No.
I mean, yeah.
No, it was like, there were nuns. I mean, they didn't wear the thing.
They were
but, What?
They were actually nuns?
Yeah, they didn't wear, like, but we had sisters. So, I mean, I was like 9, 10, 11, very young. But I remembered that. I also will say, like, my upbringing, the way that I was put in my place, it did make me who I am today. But like what you were saying, that is not the life that we live today.
No, and it's not what we want for our children.
Truly, it could be a whole nother show to talk about how I ride for the staff and I ride for the teachers. And at some point when the kids started having control and the teachers are afraid of the parents and the parents are afraid of their kids and the kids aren't afraid of anyone. We have a problem.
Yes. No, that is a problem.
Is this just a public school problem? Because I did see people posing the fact that good old Quincy public schools in regards to this. I, for one, can say that I went to parochial schools most of my life.
Until you got kicked out.
And I went to parochial schools most of my life. I did not get kicked out, Bob.
That'd be really great if you did.
Well, I did get kicked off the soccer team, so I chose to switch over to public schools, and that's his story.
Oh, there
he
goes. Okay.
I would just say she just got kicked out.
But
it's funnier that way.
I do remember being in grade school. I'm not going to name what grade because this is Quincy and it's small. And I was in grade school at a parochial school, and I was probably mouthing off, and I got smacked in the coat room. You know, to sit there and say.
That's where I got spanked in the coat room.
To sit there and I think a lot of like
It's
that
funny
was
because
that
there
was
weren't even
the,
cameras back then, but they
No
still took
kidding.
us to the courtroom.
Principal.
Yes,
Principal,
exactly.
yep. The principal did
But
it to me.
again-
My one spanking I remember at Perry Elementary, it was a principal in the coat room. And the reason I got spanked was because other guys were in there getting spanked, and I was being a smartass trying to like get up and listen. And one of my buddies, Britt Biggers, pushed me into the closet, and I was there, and he's like, "You're next." I'm like, "I didn't do anything." So it was like yeah.
But
So
is
that was my
this a-
one. How many times did you get spanked in school?
The only one that I can remember was it
One.
wasn't a spank and it was a slap across the mouth because
How many times did you
I
get?
think she got angry.
I don't remember. There was it was a rular. I feel like I got like my hand hit or
Well,
like my butt
But there's
hit.
like
I don't know.
the ruler across the
No,
hands
it
is one thing,
hurt.
but it's the
No, it was.
I'm gonna drag you into the closet and whack your ass.
Yeah.
There's a difference there. I only had
Yeah.
one of those.
Yeah. I mean, my mom, I shouldn't even talk about her. I love her so much.
That's okay.
But
Parents spank.
Yeah.
I got
no,
one-
she didn't spank me, but like,
I
'cause I
got-
was
I
quick,
only
she
got
would
one
like wrap
spanking
my
growing-
hair with, like, you know.
I
me.
got spanked once growing up that
Yeah.
I remember, and that's just because I was being a shit to my brother, and
Yeah.
I deserved
Yeah.
it. So
And
I don't believe in corporal punishment at all. I feel like
but
it was
back
something.
then, yes. Now,
Yes,
no.
but we've learned since then what it does to children, and it's also just a form of lazy discipline for parents, in my opinion.
Well, it's also the fact
this day and age.
when you talk in this day and age, the other problem is
You
that
talk things out.
most
Yeah,
parents
you
also
guys.
believe their little princes and princesses didn't do anything wrong, and
Do
how
they?
dare
But
you?
you
and
have to look
yes.
at like the society. Like this is just
the travel
not the
ball
same
mentality
day
is
as
what
the
this is.
'80s. It's just not, and that's good and bad. It's just not. So
80s
what
were
was
awesome, by
happening?
the way.
We were literally just talking about this the other day. There was a television show that reminded our parents they had kids. It was like, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children
know where
are?
your children are.
Like, that's not the mom I am. I think
Yeah.
I know where they are
think
too
we track
much, and
them on
I'm
our
not
cell
even like
phones.
I am
We've got
definitely.
Life 360. We know where they are.
I
you
don't do
know?
that. You could even say like, I mean, you could ask anyone. I am not like, yeah, I don't want to use the word helicopter mom because that's not the nicest thing, but that's not me. I'm honestly on the other end. Like I'm like, figure it out.
I graduated
you know?
from high school and college in the 80s. The 80s were fantastic.
The 80s are fantastic. I was born 1980. Fantastic.
You were born when?
Let's not-
86.
That's still good.
I'm still an 80s baby.
Okay.
Back to my question though.
Yeah.
Is this a public school, parochial school issue? Like, why would even people? I mean, it's not obviously because we just said that we both went to parochial schools. But to imply that, why are people implying? Because
So-
couldn't this happen?
Well, yeah, because this is a teacher.
Yeah.
This is staff. This is, you know, adults. We're adults. I mean, we could work anywhere. This, you know, I think like kids stuff, you know, private school, public school, that's a different show. That's a different topic. And I will, again, just say that I think that parent involvement or parent, you know, kind of follow through is where we are, you know, and COVID. But that's not this story. It's not, because these children, these parents, these families, they did absolutely nothing wrong. And when a child didn't feel safe, I mean, I believe in public school, that I could send my kids to private school. I've thought about it. It hurts me to even say that out loud because I believe in public school so much. I believe it's real life. I believe it's great. And children of all walks have my heart, and that's why I've done what I've done in this community, and that's why I continue. I will still be a QPS supporter. I feel like we very much have an opportunity here to do the right thing.
You're active in Dream Big. You've done a lot of stuff. You are a great example of what parents do to help their kids and to help step up what the public schools should
Both
do.
referendums.
Yeah.
I woke up
Yeah.
every single morning, every single weekend, and knocked on doors. People slammed doors in my face. People yelled at me, but then people loved me and applauded me and maybe reopened their door and talked to me. And so I truly, like, I do put my mouth where I back it up. I'm not just saying
No,
these things.
you do the work. You've always done that since I've known you, and it's commendable. And again, it's not like, you know, it really was frustrating when I saw a former administrator describe this as disgruntled parents or whatever. It's like, that is the farthest thing from the truth.
Yeah.
It was parents who love their kids, and
Yeah.
parents, and the DCFS report, which is the evidence. And it's like, this is not some parent who thought their little prince or princess was wrong. This is a parent who had legitimate concerns because their kid was crying
Yeah.
about being recognized on their birthday.
Yeah.
And if QPS can't figure this out, if the school board can't just look at the common sense of this and to say, yeah, we need to fix this, then that's a major
What was
problem.
the statement? Wasn't it something like, our statement is we can't give a statement?
Their statement was, I don't even want to. I don't remember what it was.
I mean,
I
think
posted it. I'm like, great.
Yeah, it is your
No.
job to give a statement. Like,
But-
whatever that statement was a joke, in
But
my opinion.
it's you have to address this, and I'm hoping that now that more parents are coming forward. I know parents are contacting the state. Parents are contacting me. I forwarded some of their information on to the state, and it's like, look, you guys, yeah, this needs to be handled, and for people to try to sweep this under the rug. And again, I want to be clear that we waited to run the story until the kids were out of the building, but that doesn't mean that come August we expect status quo. We believe that come August there should be some real reform. There should be some real changes come August. And if
Yeah.
there's not, then I really feel sorry for the folks at Denman, because I think parents are going to storm the building.
Yeah, I don't even see how that even could be a possibility
I don't either.
at this point.
How are you going to fire a softball teacher or a softball coach for talking about lights online and then say or defend this in any way? It just blows my mind. I also want to touch on the fact that Crissie brought up something before we started airing where Denman has a PE Facebook page. No other elementary school has their own designated PE page. Now, there are tons of photographs of children up there, and I mean, like at one post there was 128 of people playing in the yard. And we all know as QPS parents, we sign off on a waiver whether or not we want our children to be photographed and used in QPS material. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if a separate Facebook page ran by the PE teacher is actually considered QPS material. Like, do they have the permission of using all those images? Not to mention, some of these parents that raised the concern about this whole situation are actually blocked from the page, and we will show you a photo of that.
That was, so when I started talking to some parents who, I will just say, I felt very honored that anyone would even trust me with their story. I think that their story had been, tried to hear for several months, and it wasn't. And when I heard it, I was, again, really touched that this was being shared with me.
And they knew you had the last resort.
The first, oh my God, I know. God.
She
sorry.
explained herself.
I know.
I
I'm gonna-
did.
I'm okay
I'm gonna
now
laugh with
with
that
it.
forever.
Yes, no
Yeah.
others.
Go
no.
on, I'm sorry.
No, so I think where it got really hard for me too, after the initial, was that I just started doing my own research. Here's the deal. I believe that there are 3 sides to every story, if not
Yep.
more. Like, let's be honest. I'm always going to fact check and look what I'm doing. And I started looking into things. And here, when I was in the PTO and these new schools were being started, the administration, there was only going to be 1 page per school. And I did think that was the right choice. Why would you have...
It should be. That's how it
Why
should
would
be
you
done.
have like a school page, a PTA page, or a PTO?
And it matters who's running that.
Right.
When I again.
So that was a rule.
The year I worked for Q, I think I kind of got the ball rolling
That's
on
a
that.
great
the year
thing.
when I was PIO there. It's
Yeah.
like, well, we can't do this.
Because as a parent, it's just too much. What are we supposed to look at? What are we supposed, like, where's the important stuff? So I
if
think
we have
that
an
was
if we have
the
an elementary school Facebook page, an elementary school
PTO
whatever
page,
and whatever page,
PE
it's like,
page.
whoa, time out.
too much.
No.
So they were like, 1. Awesome. So I looked into this, and there looks like there's another school that has one. It hasn't had a post for 5 years, so that's not active. This is the only one that's going. So I don't know if that ever changed. But for me, even without knowing this story, I just thought it was a little interesting or off that, like, these posts, like, there were 58 selfies in this photo. They weren't even during PE time. They were, like, in a classroom. This, why are we doing that? How do you have all 58, 70 kids? I know that I can't post a photo of my end of the year carnival without it going through protocol to make sure that every kid from 100 yards away that I have in my photo, and I appreciate that, and that's the school I'm at. So I just find it to be very interesting that 117 photos, 58 photos, 37 photos, again, not all on
The
PE
probability
time.
behind it is not.
The other thing that I didn't love, and these are
Math
just
ain't
my
math.
opinions. One of those teachers, I believe, runs makes the yearbook for Denman.
So they would know these protocols.
There are a lot of selfies front and center in the middle of pages of them in this yearbook. I just don't know that that's how my yearbook is run.
Schools should be kids first,
Yeah,
teachers second.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
especially in this very critical and delicate situation,
Yeah.
I think we all need to have a little self-reflection, and we all need to kind of think a little bit about, take a step back and say, okay. It's like when I saw that some of the posts that were going on by the former administrators, it's like, yeah, you probably ought to just step back on this.
To
I do
me,
agree
that
with-
said, nobody ever told them to take that 24-hour rule. Here's the deal. We all want to, protect ourselves, protect someone. That was in bad taste. That wasn't the time.
Do you know how many times over the last 4 or some odd years since Brittany and me and David and everybody else has done Muddy River, that I've banged out something and I've gone.
Oh, I'm sure. Me
I've
too.
walked away and
Me too.
maybe had another sip of coffee or a
Me
sip
too.
of something else and gone back and go,
I
okay,
should get
can't
it.
do
And
that.
cheers to that.
I can't do that.
It's really great to put that on paper sometimes, but it doesn't have to, So one thing you said I want to hit on is in these last couple days, the day that this story broke actually, that's a pretty sensitive day, right? Especially for all parents, especially Denman parents, especially Denman school. That PE page posted their rock wall getting completed that day, which should be a really lovely, great thing. I will say that was also funded by several of these parents.
that are blocked from the page.
Yeah,
Who were involved
and
in-
in that day, got blocked from this page. First of all, this is not personal, or it shouldn't be, or is it? And who has the right to block somebody whose child goes to that school, who there are 100, and they've been counted, photos of their child since they've been at that school on that page, and now they're blocked?
The Quincy Public School District should have complete control and authority of
Yeah.
all social media.
Yeah.
And if they don't, shame on them.
That Rockwell picture, that wasn't in good taste. To me, that said, we'll see you next year. And it has now been taken down, so I have to believe that somebody else felt that same way I did.
I wanna touch on-
Accountability, right?
Yeah.
Real quick too, integrity. That's where I stand. We all make mistakes. I make mistakes almost every day. It's how we pick ourselves up. It's how we move forward. It's how we make people feel in that moment. That is the only thing that I care about in people that I surround myself with, in people that I even give my time to anymore. If you don't do the right thing when no one's watching, but you still have time. And to me, when one child felt like anything you were trying to do, whether it was joyous and you wanted to be a ray of sunshine, if one child didn't receive it that way, you should have been apologetic. And I know that they weren't. And
It was far more than one child.
It was far more, far more. But when you read in that article that a child, on top of anything, has any kind of a sensory issue or any kind of a thing, shame on you for not immediately just having grace and saying, I am sorry, how do I make this right? Mm-hmm. And that's not what happened. Actually, if you go to private Facebook pages, if you look at the Denman PE page, that's not the accountability that has been taken. To me, it reads, I'm here, I'm gonna be here.
Do you think if they would have taken accountability, us, like the community as a whole, would be able to forgive them and look past this and, you know, maybe get past what I keep calling the Denman? I mean, I don't think people are going to get past this because of the lack of. But do you think had they handled themselves in more of a apologetic or kind of way,
I will tell you 100% that if anyone would have shown remorse, compassion, forgiveness, we would probably not know about this.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. That's what I meant. I didn't mean like last
No, I
resort.
know.
Like I meant like
I get it.
this
No.
was
Yes.
never. And that's a pride thing. That's a loving thing. Like we are parents. We are QPS, Quincy people. We ride for these Blue Devils. We ride for our people. Like, and again, it's still wonderful. It's still great. This is one of the best school districts I've ever. But it doesn't mean that good people don't make bad decisions.
Yeah.
Had the prior Denman administration, had this been done at that, and the current administration comes in and says no more, would have never seen the light of day.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have.
And I do want to say,
That's
I
not
think
good,
a lot of people are really right now on
It's
the
not
fence.
good, but at least it would have stopped.
Yeah, because truly, not everything does need to go. I mean, you guys aren't going to agree with that.
Nope,
because-
I don't agree.
Yeah, everything goes to press. But, you know,
Not everything, but this should have been known to parents. I think, like, if I found out later that this was going on and then that some, process was made and you didn't tell me about it and I was a parent of Denman School, I would be...
What's wild is if your child was one of the children that had tape on their mouth, then
And
you
you
should
weren't
have
told?
known.
Yeah.
So that's wild.
And the fact
I don't know
I've
that
had-
Miss Crissie Duran needed to know that somebody else's child at Denman.
I get it.
The fact that I've had multiple parents who have reached out to me over the last week who have said, I asked my kid about it and they broke down and said yes, they had tape on their mouths.
Bob,
and they
you
never
had-
heard it before.
Yeah.
What the F?
And how did you feel when you had a parent or parents bring you the tape that they have personally been holding on to since that happened to their child? That will bring you to your core. Yeah. We can all sit here and, you know, I did pipe in a little bit on the comments and said a little things. I'm not like a big social media, like, give my opinion. It's not that I don't have something to say, it's that I don't think my opinion is better than yours, and I also am not going to debate somebody behind a keyboard. No offense, that's just who I am. If you want to talk about it, here I am. And I will say, I want to bring one thing up because I just felt amazing about this. I have one of my oldest mom friends has children at Denman, and they have a very, you know, we've got, they had a take on this that I didn't. I don't have children at Denman. And I made a comment on their comment, and they called me. And those are the kind of people that I ride for. Mm-hmm. That's who I am, honestly. I honestly felt kind of shameful that I even made that comment. It was nothing against them. I just said something. But we ended up having a 50-minute conversation. And this person I adore and admire as a mother, as a human, more than anything. And we agreed a lot. And we did disagree a little bit, and that's okay. And, you know, they hadn't necessarily read the whole report, and so I hope that at this point they have read the whole report. But they're in it more than me.
Yeah.
I'm just a mom who heard another couple parents talk about something, and I thought, and they felt like no one was hearing them. Nobody was helping them. And I knew that they had other parents that weren't boisterous or weren't saying something. And I just can't lay my head at night.
No, because she's fire, like I said at the beginning. One last thing that I want to say, I touched on it, common sense. You said something about, well, you both said, let's put the students, you always put the students before the teachers. And I agree to a degree. Like we said, the system, yes, in regards to safety, absolutely. Yeah. But in regards to every, like, systematic thing, that is why our system is broken. The students know that they have control over the teachers, but with their phones, with anything, teachers cannot do anything to control their classroom. I'm not saying you need to spank your kids or tape their mouths shut to control your classroom, but we do need to have a better system where we do have our teachers' backs in regards to discipline. This is not the subject matter of it, but I know it's like kind of clashing, like in the comments and whatnot, where people are saying students first and our system is broken. Yes, we can agree to both things. I just wanted to make that clear that, you know, we all have obviously our teachers' backs and
100%. I mean, I love teachers. I can't say it enough, and I think everyone.
So do we. We
have one thing too. I do want to just bring up. In the, kind of forgot what I was just going to say. So that's kind of.
Think about it. Think about it.
I know. Oh, let me take a drink.
There you go. This is we're wrapping the show up, so this needs to be poignant. This needs to be good. It needs to be bring it home, sister.
Great. Show hands. No.
Just flip your hair. It's beautiful.
Oh. No, I lost my thought.
No, I think that, again, I want to thank you for your advocacy.
Yes.
For your honesty.
Yes.
Yeah.
For you being a strong QPS supporter.
Yeah.
In all facets.
Yes.
And I'm not just again, you support teachers, you support students, you support you've gone above and beyond more than 90% of the parents I know.
I appreciate you saying that.
And I think, you know, you and, you know, our friend, our mutual friend Ann Boland, not Boleyn, Ann Boland. I think you and Ann are two like the people that we want to look at as examples, and you're just going to continue to do this, and I don't think you're going to let this deter you.
Never.
In any way.
Never. And trust me, I hope that anybody who has a question or wants to talk about it, or maybe even doesn't feel the way that I do or has any questions, all of our voices matter. But, you know, kids, their voice matters, and that's why we're here. I feel as a parent, I've got one job, that's to raise my kids. And when I put myself as a volunteer and an advocate to be in the schools, that's my only priority is these children. So.
Well, thank you so much for being that
Thank
advocate.
you,
Thanks,
guys.
Crissie. You're great.
Thank you.
So,
You guys
see
are
you.
great. Appreciate it.